As their name suggests, easy apple puff tarts really are simple to make. All you need is one Jus-Rol ready rolled puff pastry sheet, a little caster sugar, some apples, and finally an egg to give the pastry a lovely glaze. So first of all, you simply unroll the pastry sheet onto the baking tray. And you'll have noticed that I have lined the baking tray with parchment. Now you don't have to do that, but in this recipe we're using apples and sugar, and they do tend to, if they get onto the tray, stick. Now this is puff pastry, and one of the best things about it is of course that it has lots and lots of layers, and in order to make sure those layers rise to give it the perfect finish, it's a good idea to trim off the edges with a really sharp knife. Now I'm going to be making 6 tarts, and so therefore I want to cut the sheet into 6 equal pieces. So first of all, go down the length of it and cut it in half in that way, and then cut it into 6 equal, or as equal as possible, squares. And then just separate them, because this helps you work with them later on and also means that the air can circulate around the pastry and ensure an even rise during the cooking. Now we're going to take an apple, and I'm using Cox's apples. It can be any good crisp eating apple, but the important thing is it mustn't be too big. And you cut the apple in half, and when you're cutting it in half, cut it in half from top to bottom. And then with a sharp knife, just remove the cores, and then we're just going to simply slice these down. You want nice, even slices, not too thick, because you want this to cook during the baking. And you know, for an extra touch, you could always, if you enjoy marzipan or almond paste, put just a little piece in the cavity underneath. Or at Christmas time, a little tiny bit of mincemeat. So you can vary this very, very simple recipe. And now we're going to do a little glaze. Now, when I'm making puff pastry, using puff pastry for sweet recipes, I quite often just use an egg white. So separate out the egg. So I'm using the egg white because this gives a lighter glaze, almost a frosting, particularly when we then sprinkle with a bit of caster sugar. Using the pastry brush, just glaze around the apples. Now, it is important when using puff pastry and glazing the pastry that you don't glaze the sides, because if the brush goes over the sides with the egg white, then it's going to seal in the layers before they have the chance to rise. And then finally, take some caster sugar and either with a teaspoon or literally with your fingers, just give a little sprinkle. And now they're ready to go into the oven. So I'm going to bake these at 220 degrees centigrade or 200 degrees if you have a fan-assisted oven, gas mark 7, and they'll take about 12 minutes. Are beautifully puffed and golden. Here they are, the easy apple puff tarts, and I'm just going to sprinkle them once again with just a little more sugar, concentrating particularly over the apples. And these would be absolutely delicious eaten with a little ice cream or whipped cream, or of course just on their own.